Hi everyone, it's Jay from Mitosu Crafts. Thank you for joining me today with the Creating Kindness Design Team blog hub. The theme is Touch of Metal, and I'll be doing an oxidized metal technique today, using silver foil sheet and the free celebration item Grapefruit Grove foil sheet. So let's get started. So first, with the silver foil sheet, apply water with AQUAPAINTER and just spread it around. Drop a couple of re-inker Night of Navy and Lemon Lime Twist, then spread the inks with the AQUAPAINTER. Do this until you're happy, and you can add more ink if needed. Also, you can drop a couple of drops of water from the AQUAPAINTER just to give more movement to the ink. Do this until you're happy with the ink on top of the foil sheet. It does change slightly once you dry it with the heat tool, so you could always change it around as the ink doesn't dry completely on top. If you're happy with the outcome, cover the whole sheet with clear Stampin' emboss powder. Just be careful that with your fingers that you don't smudge the ink on top. Take off the excess, and again, using your heat tool, heat emboss the clear Stampin' emboss powder. As you can see, the lemon lime twist isn't actually showing that much, so maybe when you are doing this technique, don't add too much water so the ink is still concentrated and hopefully will show up a bit more. Use a wet paper towel to rub off any excess ink on top that wasn't covered with the clear Stampin' emboss powder. And that is the oxidized metal technique. I'll be trying it with the Grapefruit Grove foil and see how the ink reacts with this. So I'm just using an offcut. Again, applying water onto the sheet. I'm using the same re-inkers, Night of Navy and Lemon Lime Twist, and spreading it around with the AQUAPAINTER. The Grapefruit Grove foil sheet comes as a combo pack with the lovely lipstick matte sheet, and you can earn it for free when you place a qualifying order from our online shop. So I've just finished adding the inks and water. I'm now heating it up again with the heat tool. So as you can see, the inks are actually disappearing from the top. So I wanted a bit more ink, so I am just adding a bit more with the re-inker, spreading it with the AQUAPAINTER, and then reheating that again with the heat tool. Once you're happy, cover it with the clear Stampin' emboss powder and heat set it. You can see that some of the embossing powder didn't adhere to some parts of the foil. That can easily be fixed after you've heat set the rest of it, because we can add a bit more ink and then add a bit more clear embossing powder, then heat set it again. I've just rubbed off the ink to show where I need more embossing powder. So I've added some more Night of Navy ink. Again, you don't have to cover the rest of the foil. Heat set it a little bit so then it's dry but wet enough for the embossing powder to stick to. Then set with the heat tool again. Just be careful that you don't overheat the foil sheet like I did in this one, and you can see the top is actually peeling off from the card base. And then rub off any excess ink with a wet paper towel. And that is the oxidized metal technique. Try it with different colored inks and foil sheets, and each one will have a different effect. So now I'll be constructing the card that I shared with the Creating Kindness blog hop. So I used the rectangle stitch framelits, the 5th largest for my foil. Prepare the surface with an embossing body to make sure that the gold stamp emboss powder doesn't stick anywhere else except for where you stamp the Yay sentiment with the VERSAMARK. So this sentiment is from the Amazing Life stamp set, and it actually comes as a bundle with the rectangle stitch framelits as well, which saves you 10% off when you buy them both at the same time as a bundle. So I've just sprinkled the gold emboss powder and heat setting it with the heat tool. When you do this technique and die cut the foil sheet after, you may find that the ink transfers onto the die. So to clean this, what I did was I die cut a paper towel a couple of times, and then that just made the ink come off of the die. You can also clean off the edges of the topper with a wet paper towel just to make sure that any excess ink is completely gone. So now on to another sentiment from Amazing Life stamp set. So use the embossing body to prepare your black card, stamp it with VERSAMARK ink, and then white stamping emboss powder on top. Once heat set with the heat tool, I die cut it with the smallest framelit from the rectangle stitch dies. And I'll be making a frame with the Very Vanilla cardstock using the 2nd and the 5th largest dies from the same set, and embossing it with the subtle dynamic textured impressions embossing folder. So now constructing the card, my basic gray card base measures 21 centimeters by 14 centimeters and folded at 10.5 centimeters. So I'm just adding multi-purpose liquid glue at the back of the topper, the foil topper, and using the frame to make sure that it's nice and centered. Use that as a guide to then stick the topper down. Just make sure it's nice and adhered, and then I'll be using the foam adhesive strips at the back of the frame, leaving a slight gap on the bottom left, which when you turn over it'll be on the bottom right, so then you can feed through a ribbon. Add a bit of tear and tape to secure the ribbon in place when you're tying a knot, and the ribbon that I'll be using is the Lemon Lime Twist ombre ribbon. So just stick that down, cut it up, and then use the Very Vanilla solid baker's twine to double knot on the side, and this will then hold that in place and just creates a nice element for the card. I wanted both sentiments to be shown a little bit more with the ribbon just underneath, so I had to cut down the foam adhesive strip at the back so I can achieve this look. Once I was happy, I used the foam adhesive strip again for the second sentiment, and then the multi-purpose liquid glue on the frame to hold that in place. To finish the card, I used the basic adhesive back sequins and added 3 of them just around the topper. And that is my card for the Creating Kindness Design Team blog hop with an oxidized metal topper. You can find more links in the description below, and you can order Stampin' Up! Products from our online shop. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, bye!